Are you tired? I'm tired. I know that I am tired. So I want you to sit with that question while we move throughout, and we'll revisit it. So it is important to again note that there is debate among the scholars if Paul truly is the author of Colossians, or if perhaps it was a student of his carrying on his work after his death, writing in his name to show its value and importance and validity. Bottom line, a lot of it is in the vein of Paul, so I'm just going to say Paul because it's easier. Okay? So we're starting with the Colossians text, which, yes, is reverse of normal. But we're going to think about the story of Nympha, which I do think has even more oomph behind it, if you really think of it being a follower of Paul's who writes these words. So keep that in mind, that this could be kind of a next generation, not generation, but you know what I mean, saying those words. So Nympha's story by this point is a familiar one, right? Its familiarity is exactly what makes it special. We have a passing greeting from a reputed early church leader to a woman leading a house church, right? It's like half a sentence. The simplicity of the reference is part of its beauty. Paul was so comfortable with the idea of a woman leading a church that he didn't even feel the need to give any additional context within the letter. Just Nympha and the church in her house. That's it. That's all the reference that we have. And that was sufficient because Paul knew her. He knew her church. And even more, Paul trusted the hearers of this letter that they also would not need further exploration. Look what the sun just did there. Oh boy. Okay. That they also would not need further explanation, that they would not need justification of her qualifications before receiving a greeting from Paul to a church leader who happened to be a woman. She did not need to be introduced as connected to a husband or a father or a brother or even an uncle to be worthy of consideration and recognition. Nympha just was received as qualified and respected because of who she is. No debate needed. God called who God called, and that was that. It's kind of a wild idea, right? The commonality of this greeting, the familiarity of a woman in a leadership role, that's the beauty of Nympha's story. The other familiarity of Nympha's story, unfortunately, is that here is yet another story that later leaders of the church would try to erase. Change just one letter of the name and suddenly she becomes a male leader. When there was too much pushback about that and English translations of the Bible returned to identifying Nympha as Nympha, the woman, then they just stopped talking about her. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever heard Nympha's name from a pulpit? I hadn't, I don't think. Some of you are old enough to remember the heyday of the Bad Girls of the Bible series. Remember that? Kind of took over Christian bookstores when Christian bookstores were a thing. The sisters we are about to talk about now, we're transitioning from Colossians all the way back to Numbers. I consider them like the original badasses, if I'm being totally honest. The 5 daughters of Zelophehad are unmarried. Their father recently died. We assume their mother died as well sometime before this moment in their lives. And they do not have brothers. The whole nation has recently just sat through the reading of the law and regulations, which includes specifications about land inheritance. Now recall, this is a very patriarchal society. Typically, women like these sisters would have been desperate to find an uncle or male cousin for provision and protection. But not these badasses. No. They put their heads together and they looked around, considered what they knew of their God, and decided to make their case known. God is a God of justice, after all. Well, their faith and their courage is the confidence, and together they take their confidence to the leaders and explain their case. Have you ever seen the TV show Charmed? Again, this is a while ago too, right? There's an episode when the sisters are dressed as Valkyrie warriors. Strong, leather-clad warriors ready for a fight. Valkyries. When I picture these sisters approaching the leaders of Israel, that's what I see, because that to me is the type of spirit that this would have taken. When we read the stories on the page, it takes a lot of intention to make them 3D. Challenge yourself to do that from time to time, especially in stories of undertold, under-recognized women. Back to the sisters. Did you notice who they've brought their case to? Moses, Eleazar the priest, the leaders of the tribe, and the whole congregation, whatever that really means. The point is, it is a lot of powerful men. The sisters believe their God sees things as they do, but they cannot be assured that these men will also. They can't even be assured they will be received with no male representative. But they are, and they are heard. And Moses takes their case to God, and the Lord says, they're right. And not only gives what the daughters are asking for, but makes it a law and regulation for all future generations that women who find themselves in their situation also should inherit the land. I know that in 2024 America, where we have laws on the books that are really enforced and churches who do not follow the words of Jesus, it is difficult to wrap our head around how significant this is. But this community, while not perfect and not free of fault, they did take the law of God very seriously. Eventually, at least the sisters did, after a little more battle and a little more reminder, finally obtained what was theirs. But again, the delay was from the people, not from God. So Nympha, the 5 badass warrior daughters. Do you recall my opening question? Are you tired? Here's what's interesting. After coming to this point of this sermon, reflection, homily, whatever you want to call it, I'm now more at a both and level. I'm tired and I'm energized. I'm tired of sharing stories of women who humanity has tried to erase with the swipe of a quill or never speaking their names. I'm tired of reading the stories of women who leaders of Jesus' church recognized as fellow leaders, yet I and my fellow sister revs and all the other female leaders out there often have to fight for recognition and claw for validity. I'm tired of seeing how far back the patterns go of identifying women by the men to whom they are attached instead of their own right. I'm tired. Are you? But I'm also energized. I'm energized by women like Ashley Wilcox who write the books like the Women's Lectionary. I'm energized by viewers like you. I'm energized by badass women like the Five Sisters who speak against injustice and bring lasting change. I'm energized by the weekly proof that it has never been God who doesn't want women in spiritual leadership. It has never been God who doesn't want women to thrive. I'm tired. I'm energized. I'm called. And I'm speaking. So here's my ask. Will you get out your pearls and your chucks and join me? Subscribe, like, share, comment, interact, tell people about this ride. And join me again next week as we continue unpacking the truth that it is God who wants us to survive and thrive and embrace our callings. And it is ours to fight against the systems of religion, the constructions therewith that hold us back. The time has come. She is called. She is speaking.